I'm always so amazed by how many paths there are to some of the same truths. And I don't say all the paths are to the exact same truth, because I'm not quite sure if that'd be true. But Swami Satchidananda used to say, well, the paths are many, but the truth is one. In a lot of ways, that's true. But it's so interesting how people can take totally different approaches in order to get the same overall effect. And sometimes it works for one person, and other times it doesn't work for another person. What am I talking about? I'm talking about acting class. So I finally visited this acting class taught by this lady, Susan Giosa, an amazing, phenomenal teacher, after being told about it twice, I believe, by a friend of mine, Larissa. And I was so excited to take this class because the way that Larissa presented it to me was that this was a class to free your emotional self, to free all your emotions, to tap into who you are as a true person, and to move from that place. And that was awesome to me because I'm always looking for new ways, new therapies, new techniques in order to dig deeper into who I am, to dig deeper into myself, my subconscious, and my possibility, my range of options. And I think that oftentimes a therapy that doesn't have that interactive element of now you're acting, you're performing, you're using your imagination, you're projecting, and you're working with other people, using your voice and movement, is not going to be effective. Why? Because you can sit in a chair and talk about your issues all day long, and guess what? You just keep looping over and over and over and over and over again about them, right? Remember when I was talking about decisions, I said one of the first rules is write it down. Well, why? Because if you don't write those things down, if you don't have some sort of basis of what you've already done, well, then guess what? You're going to keep losing track of it. I mean, think about that game where you flip over cards to try to match faces. Well, if you can't remember all the cards that you flipped over, so it's a new game every single time you start, well, you're never going to beat it. I mean, come on. I mean, eventually, like over an infinite amount of years, you're going to finish, but it's not the best way to play. Not at all. So let's get back to the idea. The idea is there are so many different ways of achieving the same results, right? So anyways, in this acting class, Susan said something very interesting. And she said that she oftentimes goes into spiritual environments and is totally turned off. Why? Because she says that there are three epicenters of the body. There's the head, the heart, and the crotch. Some people are head people, heart people, crotch people, or a combination of the three, right? But what's interesting about spiritual people, she says, is that they cut off that crotch element. They're just floating heads. And what's so funny to me is that I knew exactly what she was talking about. Yet what was similarly funny to me is that the very things that actors and artistic people seem to thrive on, like neuroses, OCD, perfectionism, rage, all of that stuff, seems to be the very thing that we try to weed out in a spiritual life. And I find this fascinating because I've been through my fair share of asceticism, and ascetic living has its merits, but then at the same time, I mean, come on, if you're not experiencing emotions, you're not experiencing the full palette of life. That's like reducing your life down to black and white, or worse, just white in shades of gray, or just gray, or however you want to put it. Boring, or reducing all your food intake to one type of food with one taste and one flavor, right? Yeah, sure, you could do it. And again, I've done these experiments before in my life, but the question is what's the point of reducing your life down to that base a level? Again, there are times when we should do this. We should treat ourselves like a scale, and sometimes we need more asceticism, and sometimes we need more indulgence. And that's what the balance is all about. I mean, come on, you could eat the healthiest diet in the world, I'm thinking Steve Jobs people, and still get very sick because everything else in your body is out of whack, and because you have so much aggression and stress and tension moving through your body, well, guess what? That manifests as disease. There you go. Now you have cancer. Now you have atherosclerosis. Now you have a myocardial infarct. You know, these things move on and on and on and on. And, you know, it's just important to keep balance, right? But I'm going to talk about acting today because it's so easy for me to talk about, oh, peace, oh, get centered, feel the bliss and peace in your body, because a lot of people need that. But then again, if I'm talking to spiritually evolved people, then all got cut off, but I'm going to get right back into it. So the thing is that if you're going to be a true spiritually evolved person, I feel like you need to be a full spectrum. Guru Prime used to say to me, what is human? Human. Light being. White light, at least, is the full spectrum of light. It's every single color, not just one. It's not just green man or purple person or something like that. It's every single thing put together. Now, this is the thing, that in these situations, in these acting environments, we're able to live out part of ourselves in safe ways. And I've talked about this before, especially with your partners, to act out scenarios and act out your aggression or act out anything you might be feeling in a safe way. Why? Because in the real world, A, we might be so afraid to behave in a way that's authentic to us because A, we've never done it before, and B, we feel like people are going to react to us in ways that we can't cope with, that, doing things like that allow us to see that, yes, we can cope with it, and yes, we have done it before, and we were successful. Because, hey, look, even if you're in the middle of an improv scene and you do something stupid, right? People are going to react to you as though you did something stupid. Especially if you're in a scene with a character who is supposed to react to you like you've done something stupid. And maybe that's what gets you. Maybe what gets you is when people act like they're better than you. Well, what better way in order to have the experience of dealing with that than to act around people who believe that they're better than you in a safe environment, again, because you can lose in front of them and they're still going to hold you and support you. It's like climbing a mountain with harnesses attached. Yeah, you might be able to get right to the top without any sort of harness there, but the point is that having the harness at least gives you the ability to try it in the first place. And most people don't do just that. They don't try it in the first place. So you can join an acting class, but you could also get a bunch of friends together. I remember my friends and I used to play freeze tag in high school all the time. This isn't freeze tag the way that it's played. It is tag on the schoolyard, but freeze tag in terms of acting, where people start a scene and then someone else yells freeze and enters into it. And maybe if you're leading this group, something you can incorporate is having actual parameters for the freeze tag and the people that you're working with, giving them some sort of sense of what they want to add to it and what they should add to it, because it's a great game for working out your problems. For example, someone starts who wants to do the work and they're the person in the center, and what they say is that they want to do work getting over fear of approaching strangers, right? So in their freeze tag scenarios, every time it begins, they're always having to approach a different stranger. So people yell freeze at some point during the scene, and that person has to go approach them. And they see through time and time again and practice with this, well, hey, look, this is what happens when I approach someone like this. They behave like that to me. They are cold. They turn their shoulder. They don't look at me. They don't talk to me. They respond to me with some witty remark that I have no comeback to. And look, maybe by doing it, you'll find a comeback. But maybe what's even better is you won't need one. You won't care. Because all that you'll realize is that you can go off, you can have these actions, and you can grow as an individual. Now that's beautiful. So I invite you all to do that work, to grow yourselves, to act, to express your hearts, and see what happens. Much love and many blessings.